Welcome back to the EMT Spot's Blood Pressure Podcast, everybody. I'm Samuel Harrison.
And I'm Olivia Harper.
And today,
We're
we're diving into a fascinating condition
Yeah.
called renovascular hypertension.
Mm,
Now, I know hypertension sounds a little bit
like a mouthful.
like something out of like a sci-fi movie,
Yeah.
but it's just a fancy way of saying high blood pressure.
Mm.
But there's a twist with this one.
Oh, there is?
This type of high blood pressure is specifically linked to problems with the blood vessels that supply your kidneys.
And as you can imagine, that's not something to take lightly.
No.
We're talking potential heart disease,
Oh, wow.
stroke, even kidney damage down the line,
Really?
if it's not managed properly.
It really puts things in perspective when you think about the sheer volume of blood your kidneys handle.
Oh, yeah.
It's mind-boggling.
Absolutely.
We're talking half a cup every minute, filtered and clean.
Yeah, it's incredible.
So if those tiny highways for blood get clogged up,
Yeah.
it's no wonder things can go haywire.
Exactly. And that's where renovascular hypertension, or sometimes just renal hypertension, comes into the picture.
Okay.
It all boils down to the renal arteries.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the vessels that are responsible for carrying blood to your kidneys.
Right?
When they become narrowed or blocked, it's like a dam in a river.
Okay.
The flow gets disrupted,
Yeah.
and the pressure builds up.
So if our kidneys are like these super efficient filtering machines,
Yeah.
what happens when those arteries get backed up?
Well, think back to high school biology.
Okay.
Do you remember how the kidneys help regulate our blood pressure?
You did?
By controlling the balance of salt and water?
Right.
When the renal arteries can't deliver enough blood, the kidneys can't do their job as effectively.
That way.
So this throws off the whole system,
Right.
and boom, you've got high blood pressure as a result.
Okay, so we've got this delicate balance going on,
Mm-hmm.
and anything disrupting those renal arteries is bad news.
Yep.
But what actually causes these blockages in the first place?
Well, one of the usual suspects is atherosclerosis,
Mm-hmm.
better known as hardening of the arteries.
Right.
You can almost picture it, right? Like
Yep.
cholesterol plaque and fatty deposits
Yeah.
building up like gunk on the inner walls of your arteries,
Right.
making them narrower and narrower.
So instead of a nice smooth flow, it's like trying to squeeze a river through a straw.
Exactly.
Not ideal.
Not at all. But here's where things get a little more mysterious.
Okay.
Another major cause, though less common, is fibromuscular dysplasia,
Okay.
or FMD for short.
FMD. Now that one rings a bell.
Mm-hmm.
I can't quite place it.
Well,
What's the story there?
it's a bit of a medical enigma, to be honest.
Okay.
We're still unraveling exactly what causes FMD,
Right.
but there's growing evidence that female hormones might play a role,
Interesting.
which is fascinating in itself. Of course, there are a few other less common culprits, too,
Sure.
like radiation fibrosis, which is damage from radiation therapy,
Okay.
and blocked artery grafts, for example.
Wow. So it's not just one thing to watch out for,
No.
but a whole range of potential roadblocks for those crucial renal arteries.
It is.
Let's say someone is dealing with this. What kind of warning signs should they be on the lookout for?
That's the tricky part. Sometimes the symptoms can be pretty subtle, or they mimic other conditions, making it hard to pinpoint.
Right.
But there are a few red flags that you definitely shouldn't ignore.
Okay.
For instance, chest pain is a big one,
Yeah.
especially if it's new or different from what you're used to. Don't brush it off.
Yeah.
It could be a sign that blood flow to your heart is compromised,
Right.
which is never good news.
Makes sense. Your heart's a hard worker. It needs a constant supply of oxygen-rich blood to function properly.
Absolutely. Another common symptom is headaches,
Okay.
especially if you're someone who gets migraines.
Right.
If your usual migraine pattern changes or the headaches become more frequent or severe, it's worth paying attention to.
So not every headache means you have renovascular hypertension,
No.
but it's a piece of the puzzle, right? Yeah.
Exactly. It's all about context.
Okay.
Now, this one might seem less specific,
Sure.
but persistent fatigue is another potential sign.
Right.
And we're not talking about just feeling tired after a long day,
Yeah.
but that bone-deep weariness
Yeah.
that lingers even after a good night's sleep.
Right.
It could be a sign that your body's working overtime
Mm-hmm.
because your kidneys aren't getting enough blood flow.
Fatigue is one of those sneaky symptoms that's easy to dismiss.
Yeah.
We all live such busy lives, but you're saying it's important to listen to our bodies.
It really is. And while we're talking about paying attention, keep an eye out for swelling in your legs and ankles.
Okay.
That puffiness is often a sign of fluid retention.
Right.
Which can happen when your kidneys aren't functioning at their best.
I've definitely experienced that after like a long flight.
Oh, yeah. Not fun.
No, it's not. And finally, be mindful of shortness of breath,
Okay.
especially if it happens during physical activity.
Right.
It's like your body's saying, hey, we're not getting enough oxygen here.
It could be a sign that your heart is having to work harder
Yeah.
to pump blood due to those restricted arteries.
So let me get this straight. We've got chest pain, headaches, fatigue,
Mm.
swelling, and shortness of breath. That's quite the lineup of potential symptoms.
It is, and the key takeaway here is don't play doctor at home.
Right.
If you experience any of these symptoms, especially in combination, don't just brush them off.
Yeah.
Get yourself to a healthcare provider, get a proper diagnosis, and take steps to prevent those complications down the road.
Early detection is everything, right?
It is.
It's so much easier to manage a condition when you catch it early.
Absolutely.
Now, let's say someone does get diagnosed with renovascular hypertension. What's next?
Well, the good news is that renovascular hypertension is treatable.
Okay.
The goal is to restore that healthy blood flow to the kidneys, get your blood pressure under control, and ultimately reduce your risk of both kidney damage and cardiovascular disease.
Right.
It's about tackling the problem from multiple angles.
So it's not just about popping a pill, but a more holistic approach.
Exactly. It often starts with lifestyle changes.
Yes, the classic advice, eat healthy, exercise, all that good stuff.
It might sound familiar,
Yeah.
but it's fundamental.
Right.
We're not talking about drastic overhauls, but sustainable long-term shifts in your habits.
Yes.
Things like prioritizing a balanced diet rich in fruits, vegetables, and lean proteins,
Right.
and getting regular exercise. Even a moderate activity like brisk walking for 30 minutes a day can make a huge difference.
I know people groan when they hear diet and exercise.
Yeah.
But honestly, who doesn't feel better after a good walk and a nutritious meal?
You're right. It's not just about ticking boxes. It's about feeling good in your own skin.
Yeah.
Plus, managing stress is a big part of the equation, too.
Right.
Stress can wreak havoc on your blood pressure, so finding healthy ways to cope is crucial.
So we've got diet, exercise, stress management. What other lifestyle changes should people focus on?
Well, if you're a smoker, this is your sign to quit. It's one of the single best things you can do for your heart and overall health.
Right.
And let's not forget about salt, that sneaky little ingredient lurking in so many processed foods.
It's everywhere.
It is. Limiting your salt intake can have a significant impact on your blood pressure.
Salt gets a bad rap, but it's hard to avoid. What are your tips for keeping sodium in check?
Being a savvy label reader is key.
Okay.
Opt for low-sodium versions of your favorite foods whenever possible. And get creative with herbs and spices to add flavor without the extra sodium.
So it sounds like making these lifestyle changes, while simple in theory, can require some real effort and commitment. It's not always easy to break old habits.
You're absolutely right. It's a journey, not a quick fix.
Right.
But the payoff is immense, not just for managing renovascular hypertension, but for your overall well-being.
It's a win-win, really.
Yeah.
You're investing in a healthier, happier you.
Absolutely.
Now, you mentioned medications earlier. Are those always part of the picture?
Often, yes. While lifestyle changes are foundational, sometimes they're not enough on their own. That's where medications like ARBs and ACE inhibitors come in.
Okay.
They might sound like something out of a chemistry lab,
Yeah.
but they're real game changers when it comes to managing blood pressure and protecting your kidneys.
Okay. Break it down for us. What exactly do these medications do?
They both work in slightly different ways,
Okay.
but essentially they act like tiny traffic cops,
Okay.
helping to relax and widen your blood vessels, making it easier for blood to flow.
I love that analogy. So it's like they're easing the congestion on those blood vessel highways.
Exactly. And the cool thing is they specifically target the renin-angiotensin system, which is a key player in blood pressure regulation.
So they're not just lowering blood pressure in general.
Right.
They're addressing the root of the problem in renovascular hypertension.
Exactly. That's why they're often the first line of defense in managing this condition.
Makes sense. So they're like a targeted strike force against high blood pressure.
You got it. You also mentioned that doctors might prescribe aspirin and cholesterol-lowering drugs. What's the thinking behind that?
Well, aspirin is a bit of a multitasker.
Okay.
It helps thin the blood,
Right.
which can improve blood flow, especially if there's any clotting happening in those narrowed arteries.
So it's like adding a bit of lubrication to the system.
Precisely as for cholesterol-lowering drugs.
Okay.
They're all about tackling that atherosclerosis we talked about earlier.
Right.
They help to slow the progression of that hardening and narrowing of the arteries, which is a major win in the long run.
So it's about addressing the underlying cause of the problem, not just treating the symptoms. I like that approach.
It's all about getting to the root of things.
Right.
And speaking of addressing root causes, that's where natural supplements enter the picture.
Okay.
They're not meant to replace conventional medicine, but rather to complement it and provide additional support for cardiovascular health.
Okay, natural supplements. That's a topic I'm always curious about.
What are we talking about here? Give us the scoop.
Well, there are quite a few that have shown promise in research.
Okay.
But some of the all-stars include garlic.
Wake?
Yeah. The kind you put in your pasta sauce?
As in warding off vampires and high blood pressure?
You heard right. Garlic has been shown to have blood pressure lowering effects.
Really?
It seems to work by relaxing blood vessels and improving blood flow.
I always knew garlic was a powerhouse in the kitchen.
It is.
But this is a whole other level.
Well, and then there's hawthorn berry.
Okay.
Which has a long history of use in traditional medicine for supporting heart health.
Hawthorn berry. Now, that one I've heard of.
Yeah.
What makes it so special for the heart?
It's packed with antioxidants, which are like little superheroes that protect your blood vessels from damage.
Okay.
It also seems to help improve their overall function.
So, garlic and hawthorn berry. Check. What about those omega-3 fatty acids?
Yes.
Aren't those the ones we get from fish oil?
They are, and they're absolutely essential for a healthy heart.
Right.
Omega-3s can help lower blood pressure, reduce inflammation, and improve blood flow.
So it's like a heart-healthy trifecta.
Yeah.
Garlic, hawthorn berry, and omega-3s.
That's right.
I'm writing this down.
They're definitely worth exploring, and one of the big perks of natural supplements is that they tend to be gentler on your system and have fewer side effects compared to some medications.
Yeah.
They can be a great way to support your body's natural healing process.
I can see why they're becoming so popular, but even though they're natural, it's still important to talk to your doctor before adding them to your routine, right?
Absolutely. They can help you determine the right dosage.
Right.
And make sure there are no potential interactions with any other medications you're taking.
Safety first, always.
Yeah.
So we've covered lifestyle changes, medications, and natural supplements.
We have?
What about those surgical procedures we touched on earlier? When do those come into play?
Surgical procedures are usually reserved for situations where other treatments haven't been effective in controlling blood pressure or when the blockage in the renal artery is particularly severe.
Makes sense. Sometimes you need a more direct approach to address the problem.
Exactly. And as we mentioned before, balloon angioplasty is one of the most common procedures.
Okay.
It's a minimally invasive technique.
Right.
Where they thread a thin catheter with a tiny balloon at the tip into the narrowed artery.
Okay.
Once the balloon is in place, they inflate it to widen the artery and restore blood flow.
So it's like giving that artery a little stretch.
You got it. And in many cases, they'll also insert a stent, which is a small mesh-like tube that acts like a scaffold to help keep the artery open.
So it's like a tiny support system for that blood vessel.
Yeah.
What about those cases where balloon angioplasty isn't an option or if it's not effective?
Well, in those situations, there's another procedure called surgical revascularization.
Okay.
This is a more involved procedure where they actually create a new pathway for blood to flow to the kidneys, bypassing the blockage altogether.
Wow, that's some serious surgery. But I imagine it can be life-changing for people with severe blockages.
It absolutely can. It's a powerful tool for restoring blood flow and getting those kidneys back on track.
So to sum it up, we've got a whole arsenal of treatment options for renovascular hypertension lifestyle changes, medications, natural supplements, and surgical procedures. It's amazing how many different approaches there are.
It is, and that's why it's so crucial to work closely with your healthcare provider.
Yeah.
They can help you navigate all these options and create a personalized treatment plan that's tailored to your specific needs and situation.
It's all about finding the right fit for you.
Yeah.
One size definitely doesn't fit all when it comes to managing this condition.
Exactly. But the key takeaway here is this.
Right.
Renovascular hypertension, while serious, is treatable. Early detection and management are absolutely essential for preventing those long-term complications and living a healthy life.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's all about being proactive and taking charge of your health.
Absolutely. And on that note, I think it's time for a quick break.
Okay.
But stick around, because when we come back, we'll be diving deeper into the specifics of each treatment option.
Right.
And exploring some of the latest research in the field of renovascular hypertension.
Sounds good.
You won't want to miss it.
Looking forward to it. You know, before we get back into the nitty-gritty of treatment options, I keep thinking about something you said earlier about those lifestyle changes. It's so easy to underestimate their impact.
Absolutely.
It's not just about ticking boxes. It's
Yeah.
about making sustainable changes
Right.
that truly improve your well-being.
You hit the nail on the head. It's foundational. And I think one of the biggest challenges for people is figuring out where to even begin.
Yeah,
It can feel overwhelming.
absolutely. It's like, okay, I need to eat healthier, exercise, more manage stress.
Yeah.
But what does that actually look like in real life?
Well, the good news is it doesn't have to be drastic.
Mm-hmm.
It's about those small, consistent steps that add up over time. For example, with diet, we're not talking about some crazy restrictive plan,
Right.
but rather focusing on whole, unprocessed foods.
Okay.
Load up on those vibrant fruits and veggies,
Yeah.
choose lean proteins,
Mm-hmm.
and experiment with healthy fats like those found in avocados and olive oil.
The Mediterranean diet always comes to mind when I think about heart-healthy eating.
And for good reason, it's consistently ranked as one of the best diets for overall health.
Yeah.
And it's been shown to have a positive impact on blood pressure and cardiovascular health. It's a delicious and sustainable way to eat.
Okay, so we've got delicious food covered.
Mm-hmm.
What about exercise? I know some people shudder at the thought of hitting the gym.
I get it. But remember, it doesn't have to be all or nothing.
Right.
Even moderate exercise, like a brisk walk around your neighborhood,
Yeah.
can make a big difference.
Yeah.
Aim for at least 30 minutes a day, most days of the week.
Okay.
Find activities you enjoy. Maybe it's dancing, swimming, or hiking.
Yeah.
The key is to move your body and get your heart rate up.
And let's not forget about the mental benefits of exercise.
Oh, absolutely.
It's a fantastic stress reliever
Yes,
and mood booster.
absolutely. And managing stress is another crucial piece of the puzzle when it comes to blood pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Find healthy coping mechanisms that work for you. Whether it's meditation, yoga, spending time in nature, or journaling, taking care of your mental health is just as important as taking care of your physical health.
It's all connected.
It is.
So we've covered diet, exercise, stress management. What else should people keep in mind when it comes to making those healthy lifestyle changes?
Well, if you're a smoker, quitting is one of the most significant gifts you can give yourself.
Yeah.
I know it's not easy,
Right.
but there are so many resources available to support you. Reach out to your healthcare provider.
Mm-hmm.
Join a support group or explore smoking cessation aids. There's a path for everyone.
And let's not forget about that sneaky culprit we talked about earlier, salt.
Oh, yes.
It's everywhere.
It really is. And while we need some sodium for our bodies to function properly,
Mhm.
most of us consume way more than we need.
Right.
Reading food labels carefully is crucial. Look for low sodium options whenever possible.
Yeah.
And get creative in the kitchen. There are so many delicious ways to flavor food without relying on salt.
Wait.
Experiment with herbs, spices, citrus, and vinegars. You'll be amazed at the flavor combinations you can create.
It's about retraining your taste buds.
It is.
So it sounds like making these lifestyle changes, while simple in principle, actually requires a good deal of mindfulness and discipline.
Mm-hmm.
It's about making conscious choices every day.
You nailed it. It's an ongoing process, not a destination, but trust me, the rewards are well worth the effort. Not only can these changes help manage renovascular hypertension, but they can also improve your overall health, boost your energy levels, and enhance your sense of well-being.
It's an investment in a healthier, happier you.
Absolutely.
Now let's talk about those medications that we mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm.
ARBs and ACE inhibitors.
Yes.
They sound pretty intimidating.
Eh.
But you mentioned they're real workhorses when it comes to managing blood pressure.
They are?
Can you break down how they work in a way that even I can understand?
Absolutely. Think of them as tiny traffic cops,
Okay.
working behind the scenes to keep those blood vessels flowing smoothly.
Mm-hmm.
They both work in slightly different ways.
Yeah, okay.
But their main goal is to relax and widen those blood vessels,
Right.
making it easier for blood to flow.
Okay, I'm picturing those miniature traffic cops directing traffic,
Yeah,
easing the congestion on those blood vessel highways.
perfect analogy. And what makes them particularly effective for people with renovascular hypertension is that they target a very specific system in the body called the renin-angiotensin system,
Mm-hmm.
which plays a key role in regulating blood pressure.
So it's not just a general lowering of blood pressure, it's a targeted approach to addressing the specific issue at hand.
Precisely, they go right to the source of the problem, making them a powerful tool for managing this condition.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, you also mentioned that doctors might recommend aspirin and cholesterol-lowering drugs as part of the treatment plan. What's the rationale behind that?
Well, aspirin is a bit of a jack of all trades when it comes to cardiovascular health.
Yeah, okay.
One of its key benefits is its ability to thin the blood,
Right.
which can improve blood flow, especially in those narrowed arteries. It's like adding a little bit of lubrication to the system,
Okay.
helping to prevent those clots from forming.
So it's a preventative measure helping to keep things moving smoothly. I like it.
Exactly. And as for cholesterol-lowering drugs, they're all about tackling that underlying atherosclerosis, that hardening and narrowing of the arteries that we talked about earlier.
Right.
By lowering cholesterol levels, we can slow the progression of this condition and reduce the risk of those blockages forming in the first place.
It's about getting to the root of the problem. I'm all about preventative measures.
Me too. And that's where natural supplements come in as well. They can work in conjunction with those conventional treatments, providing additional support for cardiovascular health and overall well-being.
Okay, let's dive into those natural supplements a little deeper. Which ones are we talking about specifically?
Well, there are quite a few that have caught the attention of researchers, but some of the most well-known and well-studied include garlic, hawthornberry, and omega-3 fatty acids.
Wait, garlic, the same stuff I use to ward off vampires.
It turns out garlic has some pretty impressive cardiovascular benefits.
Really?
Studies have shown that it can actually lower blood pressure, likely due to its ability to relax blood vessels and improve blood flow.
I had no idea garlic was such a multitasker.
Right, it's truly a powerhouse. And then there's hawthornberry, which has a long history of use in traditional medicine for supporting heart health. It's often referred to as nature's heart tonic, and for good reason.
I've definitely heard of hawthornberry, but what exactly makes it so special for the heart?
Well, it's packed with antioxidants, which are like little superheroes that protect your blood vessels from damage. It also seems to have a positive effect on blood flow and overall cardiovascular function.
So garlic and hawthornberry.
Yeah.
Check, what about those omega-3 fatty acids?
Yes.
Aren't those the ones we get from fish oil?
They are, and they're absolutely crucial for maintaining a healthy heart. Omega-3s have been shown to have a whole range of benefits, including lowering blood pressure, reducing inflammation, and improving blood flow. It's like a triple whammy of goodness for your cardiovascular system.
It sounds like they're a must-have for anyone looking to support their heart health.
They definitely are, and one of the great things about natural supplements is that they're generally very safe and well-tolerated, especially compared to some pharmaceutical medications. They can be a gentle and effective way to support your body's natural healing processes.
I can see why more and more people are turning to natural remedies.
Yeah.
But even though they're natural, it's still important to talk to your doctor before adding any new supplements to your routine.
Right. Absolutely. They can help you determine the appropriate dosage and make sure there are no potential interactions with any other medications you're taking. It's always best to err on the side of caution.
Safety first. So we've covered lifestyle changes, medications, and natural supplements.
We have.
What about those surgical procedures? What are those typically recommended?
Surgical procedures are typically reserved for those situations where other treatment options haven't been successful in controlling blood pressure, or when the blockage in the renal artery is particularly severe. It's like when you've tried all the less invasive options and you need to bring in the big guns.
It makes sense sometimes you need a more direct approach to address the problem.
Exactly. And as we mentioned before, balloon angioplasty is one of the most common procedures.
Right.
It's a minimally invasive technique where they insert a thin catheter with a tiny balloon at the tip into the narrowed artery. Once the balloon is in place, they inflate it, which helps to widen the artery and restore blood flow.
So it's like giving that artery a little stretch.
Exactly. And in many cases, they'll also insert a stent, which is a small mesh-like tube that acts as a scaffold to help keep the artery open and prevent it from narrowing again.
It's like a little support system for that blood vessel.
Huh.
Pretty genius. What about those cases where balloon angioplasty isn't an option or if it's not effective?
In those situations, there's another procedure called surgical revascularization.
Right.
This is a more involved procedure where they create a new pathway for blood to flow to the kidneys, bypassing the blockage altogether.
Wow, that's some serious surgery. But I can imagine it can be life-changing for people with severe blockages.
It absolutely can. It's a powerful tool for restoring blood flow to the kidneys and getting them functioning properly again.
So to recap, we've got a whole spectrum of treatment options for renovascular hypertension. We've got lifestyle changes, medications, natural supplements, and surgical procedures. It's amazing how many different approaches there are.
It is, and that's why it's so crucial to work closely with your healthcare provider.
Right.
They can help you navigate all of these options and create a personalized treatment plan that's tailored to your unique needs and circumstances.
It's all about finding the right fit for you. One size definitely doesn't fit all when it comes to managing this condition.
Exactly. But the key message here is this renovascular hypertension, while serious, is treatable. Early detection and management are absolutely essential for preventing those long-term complications and living a healthy, vibrant life.
I love that emphasis on living a vibrant life.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about surviving, it's about thriving.
Absolutely.
It's about being proactive and taking charge of your health.
Couldn't have said it better myself now before we wrap things up. I think it's important to touch on the importance of regular monitoring and follow-up care.
Okay.
Once you have a treatment plan in place, it's not a set-it-and-forget-it situation.
Yeah, that's a great point. So what does that ongoing monitoring typically look like? What should people be aware of?
Yeah.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
So what does that ongoing monitoring typically look like? What should people be aware of?
Well, it really varies from person to person,
Oh, yeah.
depending on their individual treatment plan and how their body responds.
Right.
But one thing that's almost always part of the picture is regular blood pressure checks.
That seems like a no-brainer. It's such a simple way to keep tabs on how you're doing.
It is. And the great thing is you can even do it at home with a reliable blood pressure monitor.
Right.
It's empowering to be able to track your progress
Yeah.
and see those numbers trending in the right direction.
I know a lot of pharmacies have those machines where you can just walk in and check your blood pressure for free.
They do.
Super convenient.
It makes it so easy to stay on top of things. And then, depending on your situation, your doctor might also order blood tests
Okay.
to check how well your kidneys are functioning.
So it's about making sure those kidneys are happy and healthy?
Exactly. And if you're taking medications, regular blood tests can also help monitor for any potential side effects.
Right.
It's all about making sure the treatment is working for you
Mm-hmm.
and that you're not experiencing any unwanted surprises.
Safety first, always. What about those imaging tests we talked about earlier, like ultrasound or MRI? Are those typically part of the monitoring process?
They can be. Your doctor might recommend them to get a clearer picture of what's going on with those renal arteries,
Okay.
to see if there are any blockages, how severe they are, and whether they're changing over time.
So it's like getting a sneak peek inside to see how those blood vessels are holding up.
Precisely. And the frequency of all these tests, whether it's blood pressure checks, blood work, or imaging, really depends on your individual case and the severity of your condition.
So it's all about creating a personalized approach to monitoring, just like with the treatment plan itself.
Absolutely. And the key takeaway here is that regular monitoring and follow-up care are essential for managing renovascular hypertension effectively. It's about being proactive, staying connected with your healthcare team, and catching any potential issues early on.
It's like having a trusted co-pilot on your health journey.
Exactly. It's about working together to navigate those bumps in the road and stay on course for a healthier, happier you.
We've covered a lot of ground today, from understanding what renovascular hypertension is,
We have.
to exploring the various treatment options,
Mhm.
and the importance of monitoring. It's been quite the deep dive.
It has, and I hope our listeners are walking away feeling more informed and empowered.
I think they are. We've highlighted just how complex and multifaceted this condition can be,
Yeah.
but also that there are many different paths to managing it effectively.
Absolutely. There's no one-size-fits-all approach, and it really requires a personalized plan tailored to the individual's needs and preferences.
But the good news is that with the right treatment and management, people with renovascular hypertension can live long, healthy, and fulfilling lives.
That's the message we want to leave everyone with today. Don't let this condition define you. You take charge of your health work closely with your healthcare provider and explore all the options available to you.
Well said. And if anyone listening is feeling overwhelmed or unsure where to start, don't hesitate to reach out to a healthcare professional.
They're there to guide you, answer your questions, and support you every step of the way.
And remember, knowledge is power.
It is.
The more you understand about your condition, the better equipped you'll be to manage it effectively and make informed decisions about your health.
So keep learning, keep asking questions, and keep advocating for yourself.
And on that note, we'd like to thank you for tuning in to the EMT-Spot's Blood Pressure Podcast. We hope you found this deep dive into renovascular hypertension informative and empowering.
If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to our podcast and leave us a rating and review.
Yes.
It really helps us reach more people and spread awareness about important health topics like this.
And don't forget to share this episode with your friends and family who might benefit from this information.
Until next time, this is Olivia Harper.
And Samuel Harrison signing off. Stay healthy and keep those blood vessels flowing smoothly.